Hi, welcome back. So I'm guessing that you probably watched the other videos that I just put up about this, the pain in my legs and where that's taken me. And you notice that I think by the end of that, I had been to my GP and I was had referrals to get a CT scan, an X-ray, and an ultrasound. So it turned out, I can't remember how long after I saw her, I went along and I had those all those things done, and then I had to wait another few weeks to get back in to see the GP. And when I went to see the GP, it was a bit, I don't know, bemusing might be the right word. So she sat there, my husband came with me, and we sat there, and she was reading the report of each thing that I'd had done. And what I had done was checking my hips, my groin, my spine. And as she read them one by one, she kind of said, "Oh, well, I don't know. What do you think of this?" And threw the paperwork at us and said, "Well, what do you think of this then?" Well, we're not doctors, so I don't know what she expected. I didn't even have my glasses. So what it basically said, that they couldn't see anything wrong with my hip to cause that problem. Same with, I did have a small amount of problems with my spine, which we know about anyway. But they didn't seem to think that there was enough there to cause that sort of pain. And so that left us like shaking our heads. So I sort of said to her, well, I'm not leaving until I've got to go see somebody. So we actually picked, because of my past history, to go and see a spinal surgeon, spinal specialist, I should say. And so we opted to send a referral to the specialist that treated me in 2018 and operated on my spine. And but I'd already rang, and I knew that he was triaging patients, and the first appointment I was even going to be able to get was going to be in February. Now, because of the pain, I knew that there's no way I could wait to start this process of finding out till February. So I rang my GP back up and I said, I want another referral, please. And I had picked, researched and picked somebody else. And I think within 2 weeks I had an appointment, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. And I had an appointment. Just prior to my appointment, his secretary rang, and his name was Dr. Lee. So Dr. Lee's secretary rang and said that he actually wanted me to have an MRI prior to my appointment, so that when I turned up there, and which I was glad of, because so many times you go to a doctor and then they send you for an MRI scan, and then you have to go back, you have to get the scan, then you have to go back. And each time you go back, that costs you a few $100s, and it all adds up in the end. So I went to have the MRI scan, and we went to see Dr. Lee. Now, because the pain in my legs, it moved all over the place. And although it was predominantly in my groin, I had it on my outer thigh, my inner thigh, my leg, my shin. And because of my memory is bad, what I decided to do, so I downloaded just some sketch figures of a body. And so I got coloured pencils, and as the pain shifted, I sort of shaded in part of the leg where that pain had moved to. And I felt that over time it probably would be better to give him that, and he would get a better idea of where the pain was. So we when I had the MRI, I went to see him and started my conversation, told him where it was, and he listened. And then he said, right, jump up on the bed, and he started moving my leg around. And, when it was painful, it was like, how you do. And then he said, which blew my mind away, he said to me, this is not your back, this is your hip. I almost fell off the bed. And first of all I could think of was, now I've got to wait to see. I've got to wait. I'll have to get another referral. I have to get the referral from my GP. I can't get into my GP for 3 or 4 weeks. Then I've got to try and wait and find a hip doctor. And then I probably won't get into him. It was hard to kind of take in what was being said. And it's like, my hip, the hip was one thing I did initially think. But then I sort of went to my back. Anyway, so he told me that, and he said that he was very confident it wasn't my back. And although my back had damage, and obviously your back changes when you get older, but I actually damaged my hip when I think I was 27 or something like that. Not my hip, sorry. I damaged my back when I was about 27. So all my life I've had back problems. But he suggested, so he said, well, so, would you like me to send you to someone he knew? Because what I did was I decided that I would find for the guy that I was going to go to for my spine, I actually went to, it's called Orthopaedic SA, and I live in South Australia, so SA is South Australia, and it has a range of specialists, so it's a specialist centre. And so he said to me, now I can recommend somebody within the organisation, or you can choose your own GP. Your own specialist, and go through your GP. And in my brain, I'm calculating how long that's going to take me. And so I said to him, well, how long do you think it would take to get an appointment to see the person you are suggesting? So he said, give me a second. So he went out to his receptionist, come back in, and he said, I can get you in next Tuesday. So it wasn't even a week. And as I said, I'd already calculated the time frame I was going to have to wait just to get into my GP. So, okay, thank you. I'll have that appointment. And thankfully as well, when I had my MRI, it took in my hips as well. So, I didn't have to go and have any more testing. And so I turned up then on the following Tuesday and had a lovely conversation. And a very nice gentleman, and asked me lots of questions, explained lots of things. And when I told him I had CAA, which is Cerebral Amyloid Angiopathy, he said, I've never heard of that before. Let me look it up. So he sat there on the computer and he looked it up, and he said, oh, blood thinners. Oh, I said, I can't take blood thinners. And he said, oh, well, we might have a bit of a problem. He said, because, and maybe it's just mandatory in Australia, I don't know, but he said, we give blood thinners. It's just like a mandatory thing we do. Maybe mandatory is not what he said, not that word, but he said, we usually give blood thinners because you bleed a lot with this operation. And what we're trying to avert is a blood clot going to your lungs, because that is one of the risks of having a hip replacement. And then that opened a whole new can of worms, because it just never dawned on me, because I didn't know what they did in the procedure. But apparently what they do is prior to the operation, so I don't know whether that's like a day before or hours before the operation, they give you an injection of, I think it was click, something or other. And they give you that each day that you're in hospital, and that's a blood thinner. Time frame in hospital depends on how well you recover. And then if you do well, you're probably home in 3 or 4 days. And then when you get home, they put you on aspirin. So that, as you can see now, is now another problem that I have. So he said to me to get in touch with my neurologist to have a talk and see what happens. And of course, it was only, I think it was the week before Christmas, and my neurologist had just gone on holidays, and he won't be back until mid-February. Now, it just turns out I do actually have an appointment with him 19th of March. I did leave a message. Excuse me 1 minute, I'll turn that off. I did leave a message, and I said to the receptionist that I need an operation, but they want to give me blood thinners, and I need to speak to him about blood thinners. And that was the last day he was working, and I really was hoping that he would give me a ring back. Now, realistically, especially if you work in offices or anywhere where the person taking the message does not go in and see that person that the message is for, they email them. And then realistically, it's potluck whether you get a call back or you don't get a call back. So he went off on holidays, and I'm still left here. And I'm in a real quandary. If I decide, because what he wants is, he wants in writing what the neurologist recommends. So that if the neurologist says she's not allowed to have blood thinners, but I say, look, go ahead and just give me the blood thinners, he wants a letter to cover his little ass, because the procedure is you give blood thinners. And so just say I said, go ahead anyway, I'll do it. And then something happened to me. And then, he's going to get sued because he didn't give me blood thinners, or because he did give me blood thinners. It's a whole kettle of worms. And then, so what do we do? I've not found anybody yet. I've put it on a couple of pages, like, has anyone had a hip replacement and, didn't have blood thinners? And I keep getting asked to a specialist. Well, yes, I know that. Yes, I'm going to, when I can see him. I tried to change the appointment, but he's already still fully booked. But if I say, go ahead, do it without, then I'm risking, I could be signing a bloody death warrant for myself. But if I don't have it, I can't live with this pain. I just don't know what to do. I'm going along now as though I'm going to have the operation. I'm hoping that somewhere there's a compromise. The specialist said that there is one other thing they could do, that they could use such a thing called an IVC filter. I think it's called that. And what it is, it's a different specialist. Again, he goes through the groin, through the vein in the groin, and I think he said that there's a special vein that comes up from both hips, and where it joins, they go through the joint, the groin up, and then just where these two meet, and I think maybe a bit above it, they put a device in that's like an umbrella. Now, that doesn't stop you having a blood clot, but what that does is if you have a blood clot, or a blood clot gets released, the umbrella catches the blood clot. That has its own risks as well. And if you leave it in too long, your skin starts to grow over it. Wow. What a dilemma. What a dilemma. And another thing, at the end of the day, I went for 9 weeks. And then I had to succumb to taking pain relief. And because I have allergic reactions to different medications, it was decided that I went on tramadol. I think Tramal is the actual name, but tramadol. And it is an opioid. And first of all, I was only taking it on days that I needed to go out, but it's slow release. So realistic, it wasn't even doing anything till probably halfway through the day. And then I was telling my sister-in-law that it doesn't even bloody work, like it's useless. And I take it in, and she said, to get proper pain relief, you have to take it the morning and the night as suggested, and which I now do. However, it's really bad in the morning. Mid-morning, it starts to ease off, and I take paracetamol with that. And then probably mid-afternoon, it's at its best. And then it's not long before I go to bed, and I take another one. And at least I'm sleeping better now, because then the pain's easing right off through the night. And then the next day we start circle all over again. And so here we are. There's me. I thought it was my hip first of all, but I never found anything where the pains were where I was. So here we are now. And this is the kind of thing, I guess, has it affected you? Have you had to have anything that you weren't allowed to have pain thinners with? And if you did, what was the suggestion? Have anyone out there had a hip replacement? I've not found anyone. I think I only put it on one Facebook page, but I haven't found anybody. I think a couple of people said they didn't take it, or they took it for the one day, but nothing like what my guy is suggesting.